So, this is going to be a sort of kind of a review of the Amazing Spider-Man movie. I'm going to try and make it as quick as possible. As a regular moviegoer, I felt the movie was pretty good. It was decent. I enjoyed it more than the Avengers, and one of the better superhero movies out there. Maybe even the best. As someone who is a hardcore Sam Raimi fan, you know, I love the Evil Dead films, and I love his Spider-Man films. I even liked Spider-Man 3, to an extent. It had issues, and as a matter of fact, the entire trilogy had issues, but it was still enjoyable. I like The Amazing Spider-Man more than Sam Raimi's films. And as a hardcore Spider-Man fan, The Amazing Spider-Man was nothing short of amazing. Like, it lives up to its name. It was amazing. Spectacular, even. And sensational. And ultimate. It was just mind-blowingly awesome. There's been a lot of debate leading up to this film's release. The whole, you know, Sam Raimi versus Mark Webb, Tobey Maguire versus Andrew Garfield. The way I see it, why can't fans and moviegoers just enjoy both films? I mean, both series and both actors. I mean, there were certain things about Sam Raimi's films I enjoyed to a certain extent a little more than this film. But overall, I did enjoy this film more. And overall, I did enjoy Andrew Garfield's performance as Peter Parker in Spider-Man more than Tobey Maguire. But that's not to say I'm bashing Sam Raimi and Tobey. And that's not to say that Sam Raimi and Tobey sucked. I mean, they're both unique in their own ways and they have their own styles. The way I see it, Sam Raimi's vision for Spider-Man is more so like the Stan Lee / Steve Ditko / John Romita Sr. era of the 60s and 70s Amazing Spider-Man comic books, which is also... his films also have a little bit of the 90s animated series mixed in, and just a dash of Ultimate Spider-Man, the comic books. The Amazing Spider-Man and Mark Webb's future films in this reboot series are heavily inspired. They're heavily inspired by the Ultimate Spider-Man comic books, with a little bit of the Amazing Spider-Man comic books dashed in, and also clearly inspired by the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series. So that's one way you can compare them, you know. That's why Sam Raimi's films are more campy and corny, like deliberately. Like, you can tell they had things that were meant to be campy and corny in terms of like how like classic superhero movies felt like. For example, like the Tim Burton Batman films. And if we want to compare to Batman, as so many people do, you could say Sam Raimi's films are more like the Tim Burton era of Batman, and Mark Webb's reboot is going to end up being more like Christopher Nolan's Batman series. It's going to be better than Nolan's Batman series, but, you know. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that comment, but it is what it is. Also, if you were to compare to just like, say, a cartoon series, again, Sam Raimi's films would be more so like the 90s animated series, which is ironic, seeing as how a lot of die-hard fans of the 90s series on the internet act like they hate Raimi's films. And then, of course, the Amazing Spider-Man film and the other films in this series are more so like the Spectacular Spider-Man. And the 90s animated series basically just took the comic books and added its own spin on things. And then the Spectacular Spider-Man is more so like taking a lot of Ultimate Spider-Man and a lot of the Amazing Spider-Man and meshing them well, making them cohesive, while also taking a little bits and pieces of the 90s animated series. So like, everything is kind of like borrowing from each other. But like, everything that comes afterwards is borrowing stuff that also borrowed stuff from something else that borrows stuff from something else. You know, it's like in this order. You got the Amazing Spider-Man comic books, you got the 90s animated series, and then you got the Ultimate Spider-Man comic books. Ultimate comic books inspired by both original comic books and a little bit of the 90s animated series to an extent, I guess you could say. Or more so, Ultimate is just like taking stuff from the Amazing and making it new. For those of you familiar with the Ultimate Comics line. And then Sam Raimi's films came out, took obvious inspiration from the Ultimate Spider-Man comic books and the Amazing Spider-Man comic books, and some things from the 90s animated series. Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon taking a lot from Ultimate and a lot from Amazing, like I said, meshing them together. And then, of course, the Amazing Spider-Man movie and its inevitable sequels, taking stuff from everything, basically. But it's heavily inspired by Ultimate Spider-Man, which is really apparent. Mark Webb has mentioned a bunch of times that a lot of the different poses and stuff that Spider-Man does are taken from Mark Bagley's artwork for Ultimate Spider-Man. And I like that. I like the fact that they use poses straight out of the comics. And for any of you that are geeky enough like me and pay attention, you'll actually be able to point out certain poses that are straight from Mark Bagley's artwork from Ultimate Spider-Man. I didn't have too many issues with the Amazing Spider-Man movie. There were a few nitpicks here and there. James Horner's score was kind of cheesy and in my opinion. I think Gerard Moreno's music for the video game is better. I thought the post-credits scene was a little cliche. You know, the whole dark atmosphere, and then thunder and lightning, and oh, mysterious figures appears, says something menacing. Dr. Connors tells him to leave Peter alone, and then flash of lightning and thunder again, and oh my goodness, mysterious figure is gone. I'm like, how many times have we seen this in movies like this? Really? It was kind of lame. I mean, the whole idea of knowing that more than likely that was Norman Osborn, and in terms of teasing things to come, yeah, that's like, ooh, cool, but just the way it was done, it's like, ugh. Uncle Ben's death, yeah, I don't know, it just didn't really do it for me. I mean, it was still sad, yeah, and I was glad they took a note from the Ultimate Spider-Man comic books, but it was just, still, I just thought, I didn't like the way that Peter was actually, like, there across the street when Ben got shot. You know, I would have preferred it if they made it more like hours had gone by, or you know, it's just, but I mean, they already took their time with him becoming Spider-Man, so I felt that was one thing they needed to kind of rush and speed up, but, you know. I don't like the fact that he didn't catch the thief yet. I'm hoping that they do have him catch the thief later on in one of the sequels. I mean, he has to. I mean, you know, that's one of the things in the comics that happens that you just cannot, you know. Although one of the things that they did change was where he got bit. They had him get bit on the neck by the spider instead of the hand. You know, the hand is classic. It's been used in every incarnation of Spider-Man since. But I guess in the way that they did it, it makes sense, and I was able to go with it. I thought the scenes where he was transforming and learning about his powers, and, you know, the montage of showing how his physicality and biology changed more so to be spider-like, that was interesting. I like how they did that. What else? I'm trying to remember some of the other things I didn't like. The scene, him getting shot in the leg, and, you know, the whole construction workers making the crane scene was kind of cheesy. I thought it was cool, you know, the whole people in New York wanting to help him out, but I don't know, there was something off about it a little bit to me. You know, like, oh, the hero is becoming triumphant over, you know, his injury. You know, I thought that was kind of cliche. And I know it happens in the comics, too, a lot of times. But still, for the movie, I was just kind of like, you know, yeah, I'm getting tired of seeing that. But the scene was cool, though. I mean, easily best web swinging ever out of all the Spider-Man movies in the past. And especially the final swing at the end before the credits rolled. That was like, wow. That was, for lack of a better word, amazing. so far, those are the only nitpicks I can think of. And in terms of praising the film, I mean, there's nothing else really to be said because I mean, everything else is like self-explanatory. You don't even have to mention it. You just know what things about the movie, if you've seen it already, were good, and what things about the movie were kind of, you know. Oh, the only other thing, some people that are criticizing the film saying it took too long for them to establish him as Spider-Man. It's like, for one, it's a reboot, so yeah, of course you gotta deal with the origin story, and then two, they have to separate themselves from the Raimi trilogy. And Raimi, like I said, being more so like the original comic books, his origin went by like that. If you've ever read Amazing Fantasy 15, you know his origin was only a few pages, and his first appearance in Amazing Fantasy 15 magazine. You know, that's it. Whereas Ultimate Spider-Man, it took 12 issues before he actually finally became Spider-Man in the costume, jumping in the scene to save the day. Heads up, big time superhero coming through. You know, all that jazz. So I like the fact that they took their time, you know, establishing the characters and having more development and growth with them. I thought that was good. The whole angle with the parents, I know people are complaining, saying, "Oh, they just dropped it," and it's like, I feel if they kept it going in the movie, it would have been too much focus on his parents, and it would have got annoying. Not only that, they said this is the first in a trilogy. Although I hope they go past the third film, because I hate the cliche of ending a series in 3 movies. It's just, I hate that. They need to end it. Just like the cliche of killing off villains at the end of the movie is annoying. Which is why I'm glad the Lizard survives. Thank goodness. But they said this is the first in a trilogy of Peter becoming Spider-Man, and along the way finding out more info about his parents and their ties to Oscorp and what happened to them, what they were working on, and all that jazz, which we know is going to lead to a big epic storyline involving the Green Goblin and the inevitable death of a particular character, whose name I shall not mention, because I know there are probably general audience members watching this video and have no idea about anything involving the comic books. And that's one of the issues with superhero movies these days. It's like, yeah, sometimes they get general audience members to gain interest in the characters, but it's like, it's sweet and sour, because you get new fans, but at the same time, us older fans get annoyed because you get people who only like the movies and don't even give anything else a chance. They don't try and read the comic books. And that's why I got turned off of a certain character from the Distinguished Competition, because everyone loves the movies, but no one tries to go into anything else, and so to me, that character is overhyped, which is sad because I grew up with that character and I've liked him longer than Spider-Man, surprisingly. But at a young age, I did a complete 180, and now I'm all about the webhead. So, you know, there's that. And this video is going on way longer than I planned to. So I'm going to end it right now saying, as a general audience member, I thought the Amazing Spider-Man movie was great. And as a hardcore fan of Spider-Man, I thought the movie was nothing short of amazing. It puts the zing in amazing. I already saw it twice opening day. I saw it at midnight in regular 3D because I didn't get a chance to purchase tickets early for IMAX, so I missed out on that. And then I saw it at another theater in 3D as well, because that theater was offering like certain perks. So I was able to get certain things like a poster and a pen and temporary tattoos and whatnot. I missed out on getting a T-shirt, but it's all good. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So go see The Amazing Spider-Man. You'll enjoy it. Make sure you stay after the first half of the credits as well. Trust me, you're gonna enjoy this movie. It's better than a lot of other superhero movies that are out there now. Probably the best. And I know a lot of people are saying that a certain movie coming out later is going to be better, but we all know. Make mine Marvel, because Marvel is where it's at. Until next time, folks, Excelsior.